And then what we have between, we go through many lifetimes, and the first thing we need to do is to know thyself. We need to know who our personality is. What sort of things do I react to? What thoughts run in my head? Who am I? Who do I give out to the world? Is that different to who I am when I'm by myself? Am I different with my children to how I am with you? Do you know what I mean? We read books, and we bump up against other people, and we start to know who we are. And when you meditate, meditation helps to integrate who you are into a unity. Now you can't transcend the personality until you know it, to know thyself. And then gradually what happens, for all of you, it will be in this lifetime, if not before, because you're here. Your soul knocks on the door of the personality and says, hey, wake up, we've got some work to do. You're here for a purpose. You're here to give something that only you can give. Your personality vehicle is becoming nicely finely tuned for the soul, for the spirit, for God to manifest and work through. And you start getting, different things happening in your life that wake you up a little bit. And you start becoming aware that this bridge, this rainbow bridge called the Antakarana, is opening up, and your soul's sending you some messages down.
Well, you are a soul, isn't it?
You are, exactly.
So how can you then...
That is what your soul is telling you. You are not this personality.
No,
you are not this illusion that you present to other people.
Tell yourself.
That's right. You start to know, when you go inside in meditation, there's not a personality and a soul, is there?
Persona means to sound through, isn't it? So is that the person is the spirit?
Yes, in terms... We are one,
yeah,
we are just one soul, but we present a personality to the world, if you like. The soul is
it's
who
a mask, isn't it?
Yes,
the person's
yes.
not the mask.
The personality doesn't exist really, it's an illusion.
No, it's not.
No, who you are truly inside. When you go into meditation, who you connect with, that is you, that's your soul, that's who you truly are.
That's what sounds through, and that means persona, which means sounding, sona and per, through. So that is sounding through. The person is your spirit developed, and that is your soul also.
As you develop, it becomes that way, yes. Because what happens, we have this. We have this...
I can't hear this lady while you're talking all the time. You're spoiling it for me.
Oh, right.
It's not, you're over-talking and
sorry, the questions help though.
Yeah.
The questions help. What happens is these two eventually, when this bridge opens up, and the intuition starts coming down from the soul, especially when you're quiet in meditation, when you're listening. And you start lifting up to study and service. You start lifting up yourself to your higher self. These two fuse, and the personality dies to the soul and become just a soul. And this is enlightenment, this is a soul-infused personality. This is where we're all heading. And we're not really there yet. We've still got this duality going on. Sometimes we stand in our soul. When I stand up here and talk to you, there's no doubt about I stand much more in the light of my soul than when I'm arguing with my 15-year-old about whether he should do his homework. Now, it would be nice if I could stand in my soul all of the time, but I'm work in progress like all of you. I'm not yet a soul-infused personality that's operating from that place all of the time. More and more, and I'm more likely to go back to that place, but it takes lifetimes and lifetimes to become Buddhas. And so this is what is happening, and what I'm going to teach you is how meditation and yoga help to open up and clear this bridge, so the messages coming down through from your soul get louder and clearer, and you start to become aware of what your purpose is, what your soul purpose is. And you will already have an inkling about what that might be, because it's very much linked to what you're passionate about and what gives you energy, what drives you, and what you would do if you just had time and money and everything was irrelevant. What you would do anyway, what you love to do, will be a link to what your soul's purpose here in this particular incarnation. One of the interesting things that Madame Blavatsky said in terms when people are working down here in the lower emotions, it's very dense down here. So very negative emotions like fear. There's a lot of fear around in the world at the moment. And this is a very heavy emotion to generate and move. Requires a lot of energy, fear. But if you move up into the buddhi, because everything is of a higher vibration up here, it's much lighter. It's much easier to move the energy. So if you like, people who are operating up on the buddhi, who replace that fear with love and hope and positive ideas about where humanity are going, and an absolute trust in humanity and in the way of the world, and that things are as they're meant to be, they can, a few people can undo the fear of the many. So when you get disillusioned about the way the world is, and well, what can I do? By meditating, you lift yourself up into a higher vibration where your positive, intuitive, connected thoughts and vibration can undo a lot of the fear that is resounding down here with people who are maybe not so aware, who don't know they're caught up in the world of fear and that they could do something about it. And this is where groups meditating together or like-minded people meeting, this is the benefit of things like this, because we start to operate up on this much higher vibration, and this is how we heal the world as well, when we meditate and when we meet in groups like this, by raising the vibration. And it wouldn't take that many people on the planet. It's something like 10%. If 10% of the people on the planet woke up and meditated on peace, we could bring about peace, because the power of that vibration is so strong on these higher planes compared to the lower emotions when people are caught up in emotional desire nature. What I want to do now is talk a little bit about I want to talk a little bit about something called the Course in Miracles. I'll give you loads of handouts so that you can read them when you go away, and you don't have to take notes. You can just listen to me. A Course in Miracles is, it's a profound book. It would probably take your entire lifetime to really read and absorb, even on a, do you know what I mean? Many lifetimes to ever really understand it. It's written from the Christ consciousness, so it's absolutely profound. You can read just a few paragraphs and literally your lower mind is blown away. Yes.
There's a course in Conway.
Is there?
On miracles.
There is.
15 years.
Well, you will know what I'm talking about. The reason I want to bring it in here is when we meditate, we become aware of duality in our mind. You know, I talked about the silent watcher, and I talked about the sort of thoughts that run. And we start to become aware that when we're out in the world, we are filtering the world through our perception. And that forms our beliefs and ideas of the world. But that's a filter, okay? And that comes through our lower minds and emotions. And that filter will depend on our upbringing, our conditioning. It's like putting on our particular pair of sunglasses and someone else has a different pair of sunglasses. And so we will have a different perception of the same event, if you like. Now that perception gets us into all sorts of trouble with each other, because I think my perception's right and true and yours is wrong, and I think my perception's right and true and yours is wrong, and then we're not at one at all, are we? And so what I've found is through meditation, the discrimination that develops it lets you start to see how you are perceiving the world. Now, when whoops, I've missed one. The idea in the Course in Miracles is that our life can be miraculous. You know, sometimes life just flows and it's easy. You just, you don't seem to do anything and it all just goes, and you're like, wow, how did that happen? How did I do that? Of course, I must have done that. You know, your ego jumps in. But in actual fact, that is the way that life can be. It can be serendipitous. There can be wonderful coincidences that are not really coincidences. And this is some of the stuff that there's a lot of literature in self-development starting to look at, how we can co-create. We can determine the way our life is going. But it's said that we can only create God's will. We can't create or do or manifest anything that isn't God's will. And when our ego decides, no, I'm in charge and I know what I need and I'm going to do this, that's when we experience fear and we experience separation and we get into all sorts of challenges in life. When we step into creating God's will, we step into our soul, and that bridge, that antakarana opens up, and that's when things flow and become easier. It's when we are being and things just kind of, rather than doing. When we're really struggling, that's our ego's got this idea of what we should be doing rather than just going with what is God's will. So I talk about thy will be done, when my will becomes thy will. And this comes a lot through the teachings in Christianity. So your intuition, if you like, that you come to be more and more in touch with when you meditate regularly. Well, not regularly actually, when you meditate truly and on a deeper level, and I'll talk a bit more about that. Puts you in alignment with God, spirit, soul, love, whatever your definition is for you of something higher than your usual way of operating. And this creates the opportunity for miracles in your life. It removes the fear of separation. The idea is that when we are in love, we feel connected, and anything that isn't love is separation, and this inside us we experience as fear. So our lower mind, when we truly perceive something, we experience love, and when we misperceive something, we experience fear or doubt. So in this way, the lower mind and the ego serves us very, very well, because it points out to us where we are still experiencing illusion, what needs healing. And you know there's nothing like a very close relationship right there in your face to show you what still needs healing within your own self, is there? And sometimes our ego goes, no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know about that. But, you know, they talk about other people being a mirror for that which we need to work on, and this is how this works. But perception is still something that changes in space and time. It's not, it doesn't have the strength of certainty that true knowledge has. True perception helps to bring us to true knowledge, but true perception is still not true knowledge. The intuitive information that comes from your higher mind is knowledge and certainty and truth. It doesn't have to go through this filter, it just is. It doesn't have an ego to go through, it doesn't have conditioning to go through. And this is where you start, when you start to meditate and you start to become more aware of what's going on in your own head, heart, in your own interactions, and this is what people are here for, to help us with these lessons. You start to get a feel for what is true perception when you're not seeing a situation as it truthfully is, and when you're having moments where it's just pure knowledge. It's just is. That's what it is. And people will question you on this one. And you will be challenged. Well, how do you know that's true? I just know it's true. But then is it my ego? You know, you can get into all sorts of arguments. You can go round and round in circles. But there are some things you just...
and you can't carry on a conversation, really.
You
Yeah,
might as
well,
well, I know I had this conversation, I had one of these conversations on Thursday, and you just got to let it go. You're in two different perceptions or paradigms or whatever, and you can only know your own truth. It's very difficult sometimes to express it in a way, but if you live it, you probably express it better than trying to use the words. That's what I find. I say, well, you know, I can't particularly explain this, just how I live my life. Do you know what I mean? And your energy will tell people, because that's the thing about intuition. When you start listening to the intuitive side of you, when you start making decisions from your gut feeling, from that truth inside of you, you get energized. You get full of energy and passion and excitement, and like, look at me now. Do you know what I mean? It just oozes out of you. It's just, when you're not working, when you're working from a mind, a lower mind that's trying to work it out, trying to pros and cons, figure it, which we do need. We need the rational mind in our life, and we need to develop the rational mind before we can really develop the power to listen to intuition. You know, we really do. But that working it out, you're around in circles and you're none the wiser, are you? You're just like, I don't know. And then sometimes we just give up, don't we? I don't know the answer to this one. I don't know what the best course of action, what the right action, what the highest good is here. And at that moment of surrender, we let go of the ego, and quite often we come to truth, don't we?
Is it not just the will that does that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, the will is important, because the will is a funny thing. Will is understood and misunderstood, in my understanding. Sorry. Your will is that which calls you in the direction that truth is. And as you develop the will, so the will is used in every, say you need willpower to keep on meditating even when you feel like you're getting nowhere, don't you? You required your will to concentrate on something. You need to concentrate and
Only
use
if you
your
don't
will.
like it.
Yeah.
If you like it, your will goes with your liking.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
it's the will is before the likes and dislikes.
It's it's above. It sits above. I don't want to go into will because it's a whole nother lecture.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
We do the lecture.
But it is important. It is very important. And I'm getting into it here in terms of right-mindedness, because that's when your will is aligned with your soul. So when we have misperceptions, the way to come back to at-one-ment, so the misperceptions meant that we felt separated, maybe attacked, maybe irritated, anger. We don't feel at one with that other person or that situation. We know there's something really uncomfortable here. Forgiveness. And this comes through in many, many different ways. It's throughout A Course in Miracles. There's many different, if you read any of Byron Katie's work, or you do any of the journeying work with Brandon Bayes, or there's so many things that work on forgiveness. Any of the Toltec stuff, I'm just, off the top of my head thinking where it comes in. And forgiveness brings you back to at-one-ment. It brings atonement. And this is where the heart heals the error of the mind. So the mind that misperceived something, the heart, which is intuitive, the heart is more connected, if you like, to the Buddhic, to the intuitive part of you, can heal the mind. And this is what the Age of Aquarius is all about, is the heart healing the mind. We've developed our mind. We've got good minds, good rational minds that can concentrate, that can focus, that can work out problems. But we need to, and we've got a higher mind that can study, but the heart heals the mind, and the heart takes us out into service. And this is, meditation helps you to come into a place where you live from the heart. You come to know a love of God as well as just a knowledge of God. Now think about those words. A knowing of God, bring together with a love of God, means that you can live godliness, or live in a heartfelt way. And this is where study and meditation allow you to go out into the world into true service, because it comes from the head and the heart together. And this is the energy that is now around. This is the energy of Aquarius. This is what we're being asked to take forward as an evolution of mankind.
I guess because I was under the impression Aquarius, if you read it in the zodiac, I guess it says that those people who put everything, they are mind people, Aquarius.
Yes.
So how can the age of mind people be a heart people? Because the Pisces is heart people, and that is just the age we're going out of. And there's the age of great art, of big symphonies, and now if you see that sort of thing, it just sort of is in decline actually. And what is coming is technical stuff, control. Everything is more mind and
mind. But this is where the Aquarius, the water bearer, and water is emotion, substance, flows. The idea of Aquarius is to take the heart energy and bear forth to others. And my understanding of the idea of Aquarius, and this is from an esoteric point of view, it's not from a personality point of view, it's from a soul perspective, and we're getting into Ted's talk here rather than mine.